Okay, we'll call the August 18, 2020 Historic Uptown Association meeting to order. Public comment. Do we have anyone here for public comment?
No.
Is there anyone online?
No, and no request or no public comment letters were submitted before the meeting as well.
Okay, very good. We got 3 separate minutes to approve here. March 17, June 16, and July 21.
So it does appear that the June 16th doesn't have a quorum because Larry Turner is not here for that vote. But there's enough members for both March 17th and July.
Okay. And everyone have an opportunity to take a look at those? There's a motion to approve those.
I have a suggestion.
Sure, John.
On this minutes, if it's possible to email that to us before the meeting, before we come to the meeting, so that we have a chance to review it. Lots of times, we don't really have time to review it before the meeting.
Right. I've noticed that, you know, oftentimes we do only have 1 month to approve. I think the last couple of times we've had more than 1, so I don't know moving forward what the course is going to be, but if it's going to be several months, I think it's probably a reasonable request.
I usually send them out when Pat sends them. So I got them today. Got the one today. So we would either just send that late until I know.
So we do, yeah, if we get them to send them forward, I think the reason why we have kind of multiple ones is with some of the recent meetings, there hasn't been a quorum of the people present. And so we have sent, for example, the March 17th minutes a few different times for review, but just given that they were 4 members, if that 1 member wasn't there, we're not able to have the quorum, so.
Right. Okay. So we're going to deal with then 2 separate months, March 17, July 21. Is there a motion on the floor to approve those 2?
I wasn't at the 1 meeting, so.
Whoever's on the phone, yeah. Yep. So as part of essentially everyone that is here, John would have to abstain from the July minutes, but everyone else could vote on that one. And then everyone here, except for Ben Mossafar, can vote on the March 17th. He would essentially abstain from that.
Second it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, special events, Yucaipa.
That's me. For those on the phone, it's Mary Johnson, Community Services Supervisor. Here to give you guys an update on some upcoming special events and a YPAC update. First, special events. First one is Certified Farmers Market. So we are working on bringing a Certified Farmers Market to the Uptown. We're hoping to begin sometime in September. Once we receive approvals, there's quite a bit of an application process through the Department of Agriculture in our county. Vendors would include certified farmers and craft vendors. We're looking to have the event on Wednesday mornings. And it's still in works in regards to the location, and we're still working on getting vendors. But we would like to ask you all if there is a location you prefer in the Uptown. Options, of course, being California Street north or south of the roundabout. We even have the Yucaipa Uptown Park, or even the Yucaipa parking lot area. But we wanted to see what you all thought and get your ideas on a location for a certified farmers market.
And that's gonna take place when? I mean, September, but what is the?
Our goal would be to begin in September, and it would be weekly. It would be Wednesday mornings. And really, we haven't really thought about an end date yet. Typically, farmers markets do occur, during a season. We would be happy and open to having this be a weekly thing year-round for a few months. We definitely want to get your insight as well.
Just out of curiosity, I've spent a lot of time working in the restaurant entertainment industry and owned a eating establishment now for well over a decade. Wednesdays are usually the slowest day for any of those industries. Why are you guys hosting your event on one of the slowest days historically?
We've done quite a bit of research just in our county to see when people are hosting farmers markets. And the local farmers markets are occurring on Tuesday, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. The fewest amount of markets are occurring on Wednesdays. Therefore, we want to try to capitalize on vendor availability, especially certified farmers being available on Wednesday mornings, and surely to try to bring a crowd up to the Uptown on. If what you're saying is a slow time typically for Wednesdays, that we
I'm just saying that historically it doesn't matter what city you're in or where you're at or what industry you're in, Wednesdays are usually the worst day of the month or the worst day of the week for any restaurant, for any entertainment venue whatsoever. Wednesdays are just not the day to do it. And obviously I think the other cities have done that same research, and that's why they don't hold theirs on Wednesday. But you guys are the ones running this. I just thought I'd throw that out there for your thought.
Of course, thank you so much.
Wednesday does not work for my business. My clientele requires curbside service. So if you close the street out, that doesn't work for me.
So if I had a choice though for you guys doing it on a Wednesday, I'd love to see you guys build it actually in the city, in the Civic Center Park there.
I would certainly agree. I think with a lack of activity at the YPAC, using that park would be ideal. Wednesday, you're gonna have to, if you're gonna use California Street, you're gonna close it down, and it's not, I mean, that's gonna really surprise a lot of people. You have a street closure here on Wednesday, what's going on? That happens a couple of times, then traffic gets redirected to another part of the city, and then certainly even with the activity in Uptown. So I haven't done the research on the most favorable day. I do know from experience Thursday is certainly been a popular, Tuesdays and Thursdays actually have been popular for farmers markets. So that being said, I mean, how many hours are we talking about here?
Between anywhere from 4 to 5 hours.
Right. Well, that'd be my concern. Traffic situation.
I'd like to make a motion that we send a suggestion to whichever board this is that they hold this in the YPAC Park area.
Without further information, I'm going to second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the next event that we would like to discuss is our annual Autumn Fest. Due to COVID, Autumn Fest will be moved to the weekend of Halloween, which is Friday, October 30th and Saturday, October 31st. The festival will be transformed into a drive-through event, Friday being a drive-through car show, and Saturday being a drive-through trunk or treat event in which we would partner with a local church. And we're still working on the logistics and street closures. However, we know that we're most likely going to need to close Yucaipa Boulevard from 2nd Street to Adams or even Bryant Street, dependent upon the number of participating cars. And then due to traffic, perhaps some sort of soft closure, letting people know that there is a closure ahead, and that would be on California Street north and south of the boulevard. On both nights, cars would enter on 2nd Street, heading eastbound on the boulevard to view the cars on display, and would exit the event via Adams or Bryant Street. And so we are seeking your approval in regards to this drive-through Autumn Fest and the street closures as well.
Are you guys going to have any vendors set up, or is everybody going to be in their car? How does that?
No, we will not have any vendors set up. It will strictly be a cars on display and a drive-through event only.
And basically, you'd be shutting the Uptown down from 2nd Street to Bryant Street.
Yes, and we would look at closing the street. Since we would not have vendors, we can close the streets at a later time just to park cars. And so we are looking that we wouldn't need to close streets on Friday until after 4 p.m. and Saturday until after 3 p.m.
What does that do for the individuals that have bars up in that area that are working their bars, such as Yucaipa, such as the Uptowner, when they have their patrons that are trying to get to it?
Yes.
Hey, Robert, can you repeat that question? Sorry, we didn't hear it.
Yeah, I said, what does that do for the people the restaurateurs, the guys that have bars that thrive during the nighttime up there, the Uptowner or Yucaipa during a Friday or Saturday night? How are their customers going to get to them? How is that going to benefit the individuals in that Uptown area?
It would definitely draw people to the Uptown to drive through the car show and perhaps park in a surrounding parking lot. Even the YPAC parking lot would be open, or other areas to park and walk to the businesses after they viewed the car show.
So the whole primary purpose is the displays are going to be parked on the side of the boulevard, and the customer or your customer base, the crowd that you're trying to draw, will drive through the Uptown, and then hopefully they'll drive back down and find an area on the side to park and then walk to where they're going. You're not expecting or encouraging spectators on the side of the street, correct?
Yeah, unfortunately, due to COVID, we won't be able to allow spectators to walk to view the cars.
You know what? I'll just be flat out. I don't see that benefiting any of the businesses in that Uptown area. I think it might be great for the individuals that are putting together the car show, or those that are putting together, I don't even understand how they do a trunk or treat out of that. Are you going to have kids get out of the cars that are moving to go to somebody who's parked that are sitting on the side of the street?
No, we are still working on a plan on passing out candy, which may include pre-bagging treats for children when they enter the event, handing them candy, and then they get to drive through and view the cars that are on display.
You know, every single event that they've had up in that area, I think, or that they've tried, the purpose of their events has been to try to encourage pedestrian traffic of some way or another. And I know that right now we're fighting with COVID. I just don't see how that would benefit the group. I'm one vote here. My vote would be, I don't like that idea. And that's my vote, but I'll leave that up to the rest of the board.
Do you mind if I ask if there's another alternative that you're thinking of to draw people to the Uptown?
Cancel COVID.
You got me there, Ray. I don't have another alternative. I understand the bringing the vehicular traffic up there. I just think that a lot of these bars, they've been hurting so long right now. If you take away a Friday night and a Saturday night during that time, hoping and praying that they're allowed to be back in business, especially the Uptowner, how's somebody going to get to where he's going? Where are they going to park at?
Yeah, no, I get it.
I mean, these guys are, I'm hoping and praying that they're still in business come September.
Me too. Can we close it?
That's Halloween, that's October.
Can we close the street at Adams?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Did you hear that, Rob?
How's that?
I did hear close the street at Adams. I'd love to have some input from Scott at Yucaipa on this, especially since he's going to be one of the wine merchant there. Have we heard anybody? Have you guys talked to Ben or Scott on this and approached them with this idea?
I was never approached. This is my first time hearing about it now.
Well, Ben, what's your thoughts?
You know, I hear the concerns about COVID, and I don't know how it really makes sense. It's a tough position to be in for anyone. What the right thing to do is, I think any traffic is better than no traffic. I think I can't say. I don't know.
Well, I think we could have spectators if we social distance and promote masks and that sort of thing. But it's not going to be the same, that's for sure, as normal.
No. Well, as long as you're not discouraging it, that's one thing.
Yeah, and just to clarify as well, the county of San Bernardino still has a zero gatherings order in effect, and so therefore that's why we're in the position of how do we offer something fun, something for the community to go out and do this, similar to like our drive-in concerts, our drive-in movies, and we thought drive-through car show, and then, you know, of course our first thought was Uptown, you know, how can we get the cars to drive through to get, you know, even people to park, but it is something that we definitely have to fight in the sense of people are going to want to park and walk the cars that are parked there to view them, and so it will be a battle.
I mean, you guys have those drive-in movies. If you had a drive-in movie at the in the Uptown area, I'm pretty sure that you'd have mom and dad in the car with all the kids and whatnot, and somebody's going to want to go out and get something to eat. I think that would be a great spot to have a drive-through movie. You guys have a huge movie screen there on the Y-Pack. I don't know if it's doable from that side parking lot there, or how many people can fit in there. Even putting something up behind there, I think, would be pretty incredible.
Okay.
Craig, were you going to say something?
Yeah, is there an option of changing the day? I mean, it would come down to marketing the event, but maybe, I don't know, rather than Friday and Saturday. I'd have to agree with Robert, that is the busiest for foot traffic and business, especially for those types of establishments. So let's just say if you had it, I don't know, Tuesday, Wednesday, or, you know, and then one of those days, you have to market it and you have to be out there so people knew, but it certainly wouldn't affect businesses in the same way. You still have your event, as long as you got it out there to people, you know, there's a good chance it'd be successful.
So just a couple comments. Robert, I want to go back to I agree, we have a gorgeous screen up at the Y-Pack. We can't do drive-in movies there because the bricks that are in the Uptown Park, all of that area has like light poles and bricks that we can't fit, or we shouldn't have people driving on that area, and we can't fit a large amount of cars. However, we are looking into showing a movie on Halloween night, and we are partnering with Active Church to hold the trunk or treat. They normally hold it at their church, and we thought, well, why don't we work together to get it on the boulevard so that there's more traffic on the boulevard, so that more people are going to the businesses on the boulevard that night, because we don't think that many people are going to go out trick-or-treating because of COVID. And so we thought we would have a drive-in movie afterwards, and we were thinking about looking at areas like on the other side of the wall at the Y-Pack to see if we could use the Y-Pack parking lot and show a movie, or maybe up at the church, you know, they drive through and they can go we were looking into where is a great location kind of near the Uptown where we can do a drive-in movie. I think that's a great idea. And as far as the nights and the dates, we can definitely look into alternate dates. The church is, every year they have their trunk or treat on Halloween. It's something that they want to provide to the community for a safe opportunity for the children. We just wanted to partner with them because they have a built-in 1,500 people that have participated over the years. And we thought if we combine our advertising and our resources, then we can bring those 1,500 people who maybe don't normally go to the Uptown, up to the Uptown, and you know, the cars that are parked for trick-or-treating, maybe they'll visit the restaurants, the winery, the breweries that night. And so that was kind of the thought process behind having it that weekend. But I definitely understand, Craig, your point of if those are already extremely busy nights, we don't necessarily need to partner to bring even, you know, to shut down a street and bring more things there.
Possibly jeopardize losing what you have.
I wonder if that's possible, get a waiver from the county health on the social distance, but require everybody to wear masks.
We can certainly ask. We talk to the county every week about the ever-evolving COVID-19 guidelines. So we can certainly ask that question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ben, I thought you were a ventriloquist. I thought you were the one talking when I first got here.
I can throw my voice.
Yeah, well, there's no movement in your chin. I was wondering, man, that's a loose-fitting mask.
Well, hey, Ben, I'm good as far as them not closing down the boulevard in front of stopping and impeding traffic from going to the Uptowner. As far as I'm concerned, I think the business owner who would probably have the most to lose or the most to gain would be you. So as long as your motion includes them not closing down the street between Adams and Bryant Street, I'll support any motion you got coming up. So I'm going to put the ball in your court here, bud.
Yeah, I mean, I think about Scott Daniels, and I know we've shut down the alleyway, so we have a little bit of access. As long as the YPAC's parking lot is open, we can park back there and still access us through the alleyway there. I think it could be okay. I would talk to Scott first and run it by him, but if that's what you guys want to do and you think there's a good turnout, I don't know how your drive-in movies are doing right now, but I'm not opposed to trying to bring up traffic, whether it's car traffic or not. I think just giving people a reason to go out is good. Yeah.
And then we can make sure that we meet and chat with you and Scott. Like Mary said, we've reached out to Scott in regards to a YPAC rental thing that Mary's going to talk about in a minute. But we haven't heard back from him, but we would love to meet with you guys. We'd love to see how we can help you. And Craig, if you feel like it's going to impact your business and the Uptowner, we'd love to work with you guys to create signage like we have in the past and to mitigate any concerns we may have.
Okay.
Have you contacted the car club to do the car club?
We usually work with Past Pleasures Car Club and George Servicing for our auto festivals. So, but we haven't finalized or gone through yet. Yeah.
It's kind of, if they got all their hot rods out there, they're going to be driving them back and forth, or they're going to just have to park, come down.
When you guys are going to be doing the farmers market in September, you're allowing people to get out of the car and shop for a farmers market, essentially?
Yes, so that's one of the big things with our current situation with COVID is that people are allowed to shop at a certified farmers market because it's considered an essential business, essential because you're going to purchase groceries from a market, and our market will have to have certain things incorporated into it, such as an entry and an exit, as well as face masks being required and signage and all that. So it is going to be.
So are bona fide food vendors considered essential businesses, and if you incorporate them, would that enable us to have a workaround there?
I know that we can definitely have food vendors at the certified farmers market.
I think what Ben is saying is can we call this a certified farmers market for 2 days?
I mean,
And treat it just like a certified farmers market. Is that what you're saying, Ben?
Yes, essentially.
I think our best bet right now is to talk to the county. Our goal is to move forward, letting city council know, and letting you guys and city council know, hey, we still want to have Autumn Fest. We're trying to work with the county to see how to make it the best event for everybody possible. But we also don't want to violate any orders that are in place by the governor or by the county, because there is CARES Act funding we're trying really hard, that you'll learn about later today, to help businesses, and we don't want to violate that, because we don't want that money taken away from us. And so we really want to make sure that if we're stretching the truth a little bit, that we have permission.
Not stretching the truth, just redefining the event.
Yeah.
Perception. Like that.
Okay, and then my other thing was the farmers market. I'd really like to see it on a Sunday. I always imagine farmers markets being on Sunday. I know businesses like to open up a little earlier on Sunday, and if you do it early in the morning, I think a lot of certified farmers out there can come out on Sundays, and then from there they can continue to shop businesses afterwards.
okay.
I think it might be a good idea, but thinking of people going to church on Sunday, that might ultimately reduce the number of people participating.
Well, a lot of people don't go till 10, so if you have it early enough, like 7, then that gives the churchgoers enough time to go before church.
We just need some direction on Autumn Fest.
Yeah, so where are we on this one? I mean, are we gonna try to change the day, just restrict the area that's closed?
I think it's up to you. It's the direction you guys want to provide to us is how we'll move forward. So we're open to anything. We're just trying to help bring a little bit of life back into the community.
Uptown area.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of moving forward with this, I like Ben's idea of having it on a Sunday. I told you, I thought Wednesday morning was a foolish day to have it. So I like that. I think that we'd have to go back to amend that motion for the farmers market. But also moving forward, I'd like to get some sort of a motion made on how to deal with this Autumn Fest. So Ben, do you want to make a motion on it, or how do you guys want to deal with that, with them including Scott from Yucaipa into this?
One other thing I want to understand is for Autumn Fest, essentially you're saying you're going to make it like a drive-through, so you're going to have people that are handing out candy parked in parking spots in front of our businesses, throwing out bags of pre-made candy. Is that what I'm understanding, to cars that are driving up and down? So the street's not necessarily shut down, it's the parking that's taken away on the front?
It would entail a full closure so that we could ensure that we can park the cars safely, they can display their cars, and that we would have a space to allow the cars to drive through the boulevard. So it would be a full closure. And then handing out the candy, we just have it quite nailed that down yet, but we do think we want to pass it out before they get to the cars. But we are working with Active Church, and they haven't yet decided that.
Yeah, I'm not sold on the idea, so I wouldn't move forward with that. But yeah, that's just me.
Anybody else have any other discussion on that? So with that, I guess I'll make the motion that to not give back a favorable vote or a yes vote on the idea of closing down the boulevard for the trunk or treat.
I second that motion.
So we got a first, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, but what about the class, I'm sorry, Robert, was your motion for the Autumn Fest event or just for the Saturday trunk or treat event?
That would have been, well, both events are kind of the same exact identical thing, aren't they?
One's a car show and one's a trunk or treat. So your motion said no trunk or treat, which I just want to make sure that we clarify no Autumn Fest. So no to both events, not no to just Saturday.
Well, with that, on your car show, you're still not encouraging individuals to park. You're still shutting down the road. That's only bringing vehicular people that are driving through up there, right? So I think that with the discussion that we had, I'll make the amendment to my motion to be, or the clarification of my motion, that I'm not in favor of either night, especially with them closing the road down, not bringing any pedestrian traffic, but just bringing vehicular traffic up. So Ben, do I still have your second?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
We haven't heard anything back from Scott, right?
No, not yet.
Might be a good idea to defer until we get more information on this. I don't really know how many other businesses know about this as well. And obviously, could potentially affect them. So my thought is to, well, I'm sure we'll get to that when we discuss a communication page, a Facebook page. So businesses can get this notification, these things are going on, and perhaps provide some input. And maybe even more ideas than we have. So.
To confirm as your recommendation, then to come back with maybe some updated information and do more outreach for Autumn Fest. And
I think it's necessary at this point, because I think in light of COVID, this is just so unprecedented that, businesses come back online and there's a new directive and you have to tweak or accommodate, and it's just getting to be, from one week to the next, no one knows what we're doing. So,
well, with that, does the city have time to go out and, with this being so close, do they have time to go out and come up with a more detailed event and plan an idea and change those ideas and then get back to us?
I think we can make an effort. So right now, the Autumn Fest kind of tentatively for Halloween, that's the end of October. So that does give about 2 more months of kind of logistics to work through. And so we can certainly come back, I think, with that. Do want to just note we do have that motion on the floor, but.
Yeah, do we have the, yeah. Well, I don't like the current plan. I don't really see how that's going to work. I think it was a great I think somebody was trying to come up with something. I just don't see how that's going to benefit, and especially my neighbor. I think that would kill his business those 2 nights. So with it being there, like I said, I'm just following. Ben, if you want to stay with it, I mean, you're kind of, how do we go through and come up with something that's going to be different?
I'm open up to reaching out and maybe just trying to figure out something a little bit better, fine-tuning the details and talking with Scott and other businesses in the area, getting some more input back. And I know it's ever-changing, so I know it's nothing's going away, but maybe restrictions will get better, and maybe we can do a little bit more.
So I guess I'm going to look to city staff on guidance. How do we put something together where we can not kill this all the way yet, but make sure that it's not going to go forward as planned right now?
Can I make a suggestion? We're going to talk about the TEP process on the agenda here in a minute, and part of this is, as you already said, Robert and Ben, an effort to move fairly quickly, and as our Ben said, 2 Bens here, we do have 2 months, but 2 months goes by quickly, and you need some time to plan an event like this, like whatever we end up with. And the association had discussed as far back as December the idea of an ad hoc committee for events and perhaps another ad hoc committee for permits. That might help staff move a little quicker in processing. But the difficulty is going to be predicting when the COVID-19 guidelines might evolve. Particularly given that time frame needed to plan something. And so as it stands today, about the only other options that might work, the guidelines don't allow for a whole lot, are those options that you guys already talked about. Either a drive-in movie, or I guess we haven't talked about drive-in concerts up at the Uptown in some location. Those are about the only other things that are allowed under the current guidelines, and hopefully they do change, but there's no guarantee. So those are the only other ideas, unless Megan and Mary have something that I can think of. And we talked about one already. So drive-through car show and the kind of trunk or treat activity they're talking about are probably allowed. I do think some spectators I've certainly seen that up in Big Bear in the last few weeks. Might be okay as long as they're spread out. And Mary's absolutely right. There is no gathering of any magnitude allowed at this point by the guidelines. But none of those probably resolve the concerns that you raised, Robert or Ben. So you know, maybe we go back to council with the association's recommendation not to do anything this year for Autumn Fest. I hate to do that. It's been certainly a well-known event for us over the years and well attended. I hate to do that, but also understand the challenges that we're all faced with.
I got a suggestion or a thought. Do the car show Friday night so bars can get their people in there and still have parking around or living people like that. And then having a drive-in movie with horror shows on Halloween Saturday night. And put those somewhere, some off-tables or people. That's that way you're doing something for the people. And then they can have a costume contest at the drive-in or whatever. And do something like that on Saturday night. Then you can have your market on Sunday if you like. You kind of maybe would get around a lot of these conflicting issues. I don't know. And just like you said, like to do something for the community, but in this state of affairs, it's like, what are you going to do that's not going to have issues, or hey, you're not close enough, back up.
Well, we survived not having the music and arts festival.
Yeah.
I barely survived that. We can also look at an alternate location. So I think we could take the recommendation, Ray, that I hear to defer and bring back more info at like you were saying.
Well, you've got a motion and a second on the table, basically.
You know, with that, if we defer, do you guys have time to put something else together? You know what our concerns are.
So you'd have to withdraw the motion and the second and
Right.
forward with a different motion and a second that gives us some more time to come back to the association.
I'm just saying, if we do that, do you have time to come back? Do you think you have the ability to put something together that might have a lesser impact on those businesses that are operating there and potentially even have a greater benefit?
I think we have time to come back if the association is okay with a special meeting for this item and maybe one or two other items. If that's okay, we don't have to wait a full month.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, with that, I'll withdraw my motion.
I think
Yeah.
I think the board, unless I'm misstating, I think it's, the recommendation should be to city staff to, consider, do some further research, advise as to what the options are, and involve as many businesses, put them on notice of exactly what we're discussing here, and get their feedback. And we can have a special meeting and knock that out. That means,
And is Larry's suggestions close? Is that, I think they make some sense. If you guys think that's at least close, we can start there.
it's not unreasonable, Is it the best option? I don't know. There's so many
Do
on
the
the
car
table
show,
here.
go on the street, make it to the event and
By then we'll be.
Sure.
so might be an option to do something instead of just blowing it all out.
Right. Try to find a meeting here. So is that reasonable? To do that?
That sounds like a motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a second.
I second.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay, includes a special meeting in like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll do it 2 weeks, I think. We'll
Okay.
tell it if that's enough time for the city
Check them down and you see what parameters
to
they're.
see what we have.
Good
Maybe like,
Come on, folks.
Okay, so the last update that I have for you, the last update I have for you is about the Yucaipa Performing Arts Center, and that, my last update at our last meeting, it's kind of the same right now. We have no shows, no performances going on. However, we do have a rental coming up at the Webpage on the outdoor stage, and it is Sandals Church. They will be doing services on the outdoor stage on Saturday nights beginning August 29th through October 17th from 5 p.m. To 8:30 p.m. And it is a religious church service, therefore it is allowed as by the county. And they are looking to bring upwards towards, they requested 1,000 chairs. So every Saturday night, we're hoping to bring out quite a few people into the Uptown.
Hopefully they go to restaurants after.
Exactly, before and after.
Yeah.
And then it'll be 2 services, one at 5 p.m. and one at 7 p.m. So that 2 options for services for them.
And that starts when, Mary?
Is that the amateurs doing
It's Sandals Church. It begins on Saturday, August 29th through Saturday, October 17th. And that's their current agreement. They're going to see how it goes, and we may extend to be on a more regular basis, but we'll see how this event goes, or they will see and then let us know.
Do they have a regular church building that they normally use?
This would be considered a satellite campus
Okay.
for them.
Yeah, it's a good idea. We can help them to do it continuously. Get more people all the time.
Put concessions stands out there.
No, so they're going to have their satellite campus there on Saturday night, right at the YPAC, right next door to Yucaipa, right around all of the events that we have there and the atmosphere that we've been bringing there. If I'm not mistaken, I believe one of the biggest hurdles that Yucaipa had to overcome was the church that was located next to them that filed all sorts of complaints regarding their liquor license. Are we going to have similar issues with these people moving into the neighborhood? Do they know what they're getting into?
I have been in conversation with both sides, both entities. I have not yet heard back from Scott about the event. However, Sandals Church, we did have a conversation with them about it, and they're totally fine. They're all about it. They describe themselves as kind of a motley crew of sorts.
They drink.
They're fun. So they were joking that they would be going to bars and restaurants after themselves. So they were fine with it. But I am waiting to hear back from Scott and Yucaipa.
And then again, I mean, is that what you guys had envisioned when you built the YPAC, was having somebody that would rent it on more of a weekly basis, something similar to this? Is that kind of what you guys envisioned when it was designed? Because I don't remember that.
When, of course, before COVID hit, we wanted live music performances outdoors, to utilize the outdoors for our festivals and such. And when COVID hit, we did have to go back to council to change the way that we hold events at the YPAC, and it really is going to be changing into a rentals facility.
Not entirely.
Yeah.
More of a focus, yeah.
Yeah, our focus is a rental facility, but we still, when things are opening back up after COVID, we will definitely look into having more performances outdoor and indoor at the YPAC. I don't know, Ray or anything if you want to.
I think you covered it pretty well. I just think that under the current circumstances, there are limited ways that we can use the area around the facility, and certainly the facility itself. And we want to try to find ways to mitigate the costs associated with the YPAC, but also to bring people to the Uptown. And as Mary already mentioned, these folks, we think, will be out using restaurants before and after the events. The events are going throughout the evening, so the 2 shifts basically. So we do think it's going to drive customers to Yucaipa, to Uptown Wine Merchant, to Craig's establishment, and others. So we're scrambling a little bit because of COVID-19 to try to help folks in the Uptown, but we think this is a way to do that.
Well, one of my biggest concerns that I have with the city building facilities is they begin to compete with the free market out there, such as the incubator center. You guys have all these individuals in there paying way below market rent, and even when they do get up towards market rent, it's still far below those. They are competing, you are in direct competition with me as a landlord, because now you're providing somebody with cheaper rent. Also, those individuals that are receiving cheaper rent have an advantage over those that are in the community and have been in the community and already invested in the community into brick and mortars. So you guys are charging a fair and reasonable price to whatever entity is going to be occupying that, just to make sure they don't have an unfair competitive advantage over everybody else that's there, right?
Yeah, it's a market rate rental, and I can't leave the incubator center at this conversation without a response. As you pointed out, that rate has increased. It is intended to be market rate at this point. We also have on just, I think, every single business that has occupied that incubator center, but certainly a vast majority have come out of their homes. And the idea is to come out of your home, out of your garage, and that's a kind of a staging area, call it. And then they go on to sticks and bricks. And that's part of the reason why City Council recently approved a pretty significant increase, almost double, in the rental rate to to encourage people to go out and find those bricks and mortar locations. So I appreciate the comments, but we are trying to go in that direction with the incubator center. And this is a market, we think, a market rental rate for the outdoor stage and Uptown Park.
Just out of curiosity, what is a market rate for that? What's it cost to rent the stage for a Saturday night? If I was going to host a Christmas party for my company and rent that, what would it cost me?
It's $2,000 for the day rental.
For the day rental?
Yeah, that's because of setup and breakdown and all that.
And that doesn't include staffing as well.
Okay.
Next item.
Anything else, Mary?
That's it for WIPAC. Thank you.
Okay, temporary use permit. COVID-19.
So I'll just kind of reiterate, kind of at the last meetings, that we have established the COVID-19 temporary use permit for those establishments that are prohibited from being indoors and essentially provide an opportunity for them to expand outward. As part of it, there was a motion, or as part of the ratification with City Council, was approval of closing public right-of-way and public spaces for this. And then also direction from City Council that if need be, we can also close California Street to allow for those businesses to expand. We've approved essentially 2 different COVID TUP applications in the Uptown already. One is kind of a joint application filed by Uptown Wine Merchant, Yucaipa, and Jitter's Coffee for the alley adjacent to the YPAC. And then another TUP was filed by Fred Suved for the spaces in front of his establishment and the Yucaipa Music. And then I did go around to the different properties in the Uptown along California Street to ask if there was a effort to close California Street for maybe a bigger kind of temporary use event on Friday and Saturday nights, if they would be okay. And every person I was able to get in contact with was in support of that. And so just wanted to highlight that, kind of the efforts on there. And if anyone else, the COVID TUP does cover a few different establishments, certainly restaurants, winery and breweries. I know even the Cludes restaurant, since they're getting close to opening, or they're making good progress, will probably explore the COVID TUP just because they won't be able to use a lot of their indoor space. But then it also does include expanded out to other personal care services. So a barbershop or something like that can also use it, provided that they follow the guidelines from their respective state boards as well, since there are some requirements that those entities have to adhere to.
So where do we stand with that for this coming weekend, as far as the street closure goes?
As in, is it going to happen, or?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it.
Mhm.
Just curious where that stands.
So I guess the framework is in place to do that. I think is working with the different vendors, so it'd be yourself and anyone else, if they are interested in doing that, letting us know so that we kind of work on the logistics on it.
Okay, so we have to formally apply for a permit to close the street. I mean, that's something council has approved, right?
Mhm.
All right, so if the businesses wanted to have California Street closed, how would we go about that?
So is the request to close California Street for Friday and Saturday night?
As long as it's an option, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm sure businesses would want to pursue that, so. What are we talking about as far as time frame? What are the hours of closure?
I guess I'm trying to understand the question.
Okay.
The TUP, or the flexibility is there.
Okay.
It really is kind of be applicant driven on kind of what the request is. So the city council's approval does allow for the closure or staff to essentially execute that closure for those Friday and Saturday night. And so is making sure that the vendors that are there that would be the ones hosting the outdoor dining opportunity is on board with doing that.
So maybe I can further clarify. First of all, with the TUPs, staff had a conversation with several folks that were interested in closing the alley. Ben was on the phone. Robert couldn't get hooked up that day with the Zoom for whatever reason, and Scott was on that call as well. The next day, they submitted a plan that included closure of the alleyway and other specifics relative to that. We did an emergency declaration, which was ratified by council at the next council meeting, and Ben had the ability to approve that very quickly. With the other TUP, your application, Craig, I think we moved fairly quickly in getting that approved as well, to allow for further use of part of the street, the parking area, for your needs. I think it was your property and maybe the adjacent property. So what's required for the California street closure? Staff requested pre-approval, if you will, from council for the street closure like California Street, based on a plan submitted by an applicant. And so the applicant needs to submit a plan like Scott and Ben did for closing the alley that includes the limits of the closure. We think we know what it is. The timing for the closure, and Ben has gone out with Fermin, I think, and talked to the other business owners to make sure all the other business owners were okay with it as well, which was further direction from the city council. And so as soon as we know the limits, the time frame that you and the other businesses would like to close California Street, we can certainly review and approve that.
Okay, so a lot of it then includes what we spoke about, the three of us, about from that parking lot, the roundabout, the days were Friday and Saturday, and if we specified a time, it was in the evening.
So I think establishing that and then acknowledging that the tear down and setup you guys would be responsible, or the applicant would be responsible for. Just kind of memorializing that scope of work.
Sure.
That way, just everyone's aware of that.
Okay.
What is the logic for closing the alley, you suggest? What's the logic for that?
The logic was, and I don't want to speak for Ben, maybe Ben should answer this question because he was involved with the application process, but there was an effort to combine the food services in that vicinity with the alcohol, both wine and beer opportunities, in a mutual area that serves all of the uses there, both Jitters and Uptown Wine Merchant and Yucaipa. Ben, am I close?
What was that? Right?
Just wanted to make sure I wasn't misrepresenting the application for closing the alley. John asked
No, you're spot on.
Okay.
Well, and the alley was also considered because it wouldn't require hard street closure, so it gave a little bit more flexibility for that on their layout in the setup.
So just for the record, I guess, we go to council for concurrence on items because we have to move quickly and like the ratification for the emergency declaration TUP process. We know that we need to keep plugged in with the association and those calls relative to the alley. Of course, we had several association members in response to Craig's request. Several association members have been aware of it. Want to make sure that the association is okay with the TUPs that have been approved. And technically, I think the association probably should take a vote on closing California Street if that's the request that you want to proceed with, Craig, just for the record.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. You did canvass some of the other businesses. I have yet to speak to one of them. I just haven't been able to do that. So, I mean, my thought would be Fridays, Saturdays, from say, let's see, what's traditional, usually when you've had the California nights, etc., those streets were closed from like 5?
We closed them at 5, and the event started at 6.
Yeah.
I think California nights, we started a little bit later, like 6:30, but we still closed it at 5.
Okay. I don't know if there's any reason to change that. If it's that sort of what the standard has been, I'm fine with that. But we can certainly vote on that.
I think the probably pertinent question would be for the California nights and stuff where there's vendors, they need time to set up. So probably the more operative question is how much time would, as an example for your establishment, would you need to be able to set up your area outside and kind of working backwards from there and having enough time to make everything work.
Yeah, 30 minutes is enough. So yeah, 6 to 10 is that reasonable? So I make a motion then, if businesses are good with that, then 6 to 10 Friday and Saturday. Closing from the parking lot to the roundabout. Anyone have an objection to that? Is there a second? Do you have a second on that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Mural art.
May I respectfully request that we continue this item to the next meeting. We won't bring this to council until the association hears the item, but there are some reasons why I think it is important for us to communicate with the chair and the vice chair about the issues. I tried to do that this afternoon, didn't have any luck. It wasn't until late in the afternoon, so my apologies. And my apologies to Ms. Gomez. I'm sorry that we've asked you to come and stay throughout this thing. If we don't go forward, if we do go forward, then I'll need to communicate with the group. So I prefer to hold off until the special meeting if the association is okay with that. It's only a delay of 2 weeks.
Do you have a time in mind, Brett?
I don't, but we said about 2 weeks out, so whatever works for you guys.
So you just want to have a meeting with the chair and the
With
vice
the chair and the vice chair, if I may. And I can do that tomorrow if you guys are okay.
That was my question.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Robert, are you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Plus, we got that special meeting coming up, so we're set.
All right.
So I'm good early afternoon or early morning, 8 o'clock or
Tomorrow?
yeah, 8 o'clock or 1 o'clock, 1:30, whatever works for you guys.
Robert, what works for you?
Do 8 o'clock.
Okay.
1 o'clock?
Or actually, no, sorry. Rethinking my schedule right now, looking at my calendar. Let's do 1 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, afternoon better.
Okay,
Yeah, for sure.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
So you need a motion and a second to continue.
Yes, so I'll move to continue that item, so after, we get an opportunity to meet, Robert and I get an opportunity to meet with Ray on that. And we'll defer it, do we need to have a special meeting on that, or can we just?
I think the special meeting you're gonna have anyway to get the Autumn Fest decision moving, is what I heard. So we could put it on the same agenda.
Yeah, we'll put it on the same agenda as that, so probably 2 weeks. Whenever that's.
Yeah, we can coordinate that date.
Yeah, okay. Do we have a second on that? I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Uptown budget, item 7.
Okay, so I sent out an email earlier today, and then I believe Chris also provided in all of your packets another updated financial statement for this fiscal year, which just ended on June 30th. So there were a few items that were brought to our attention, one of which being a consulting charge of $375 from Heather Barger, who we later realized was actually coded to PBID by mistake, so that has been removed from the GL for the PBID accounts. And then one other question that was brought up was if Bill and Dave, which is your landscaping maintenance company, was providing pest services, because there's a separate line item for pest services from a different vendor. We did confirm Bill and Dave's provided an estimate on the pest control, but we did not go forward with that portion of the maintenance with them. So the charges that you have for landscape maintenance are just that, the landscape maintenance. And then there are separate charges for gopher and rodent control from a separate company. So those charges are all accurate. And those are the only charges that have been made to this since the last time you saw it in July. And I was just curious if anyone had any other questions or if there was anything else that you wanted us to look into. I believe those were the only 2 items that had been flagged.
I think what we discussed at the last meeting was, given the discrepancies and the necessity of having these reportings amended, financial reportings amended, I'd like to make a motion that this board moving forward manage and maintain their own budget and be fully accountable for what the spending and statements are, using an actual accounting system and not an accrual accounting system. So I think in the past, we've had a lot of these figures sort of lumped up, and which has necessitated a request to have them broken down. It was a good idea. We had made several attempts, and finally, we were provided with that breakdown. And I think it's rather enlightening that we, moving forward, maintain our own finances. And if it's necessary to appoint a treasurer, so to speak, to the Uptown board, then so be it.
In regard to this, with the GoFund Road thing, which I'll go back to again, we were never presented with that. We were never asked or told it was going to be done. It just appeared and we were charged for it. Again, you went around this one more time. That is unacceptable on all levels. All of a sudden, we get charged $1,300 for something we knew nothing about. I asked them for an invoice of where that work was done. I have not received it. Where was that done? All up and down the Uptown? Where was it done? We were not told about it or asked about it. Several things on the financial statement that were really cockeyed, if you will.
So as kind of Courtney identified, there was an estimate initially that that had provided related to pest control. This ended up not being part of the ultimate bid for the landscape maintenance, and so to facilitate the actual pest control, then it was rolled into the city's existing pest control contract for that. And then that was the budget for their efforts in the P-bid.
Do we have an invoice for what was billed relative to pest control?
I don't have a copy of that.
We'll get it.
We'll track it down from Development Services, which oversees all of the landscaping and erosion control contracts, so they can give us copies of invoices that they have that can give us more specifics as to what services in your area were provided up there.
I think we can do that tomorrow. We'll send it out to each of the board members tomorrow.
So would it be ready for us to review again the next special meeting?
So, the motion, ready to review the invoice? Yes, you can certainly put it on the agenda for the next meeting. We'll get it out to you tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion that the Uptown Association Board maintains its own finances moving forward.
Hey, Craig, can you repeat that motion again?
I am making a motion that the Uptown Association manage their own finances.
Well, I'd like to have a little bit of discussion on that before somebody seconds that, if you're okay with that.
I'm sorry, Robert?
I said I'd like to have a little bit more discussion on that item before somebody seconds that, if you're okay with that.
Sure, what do you have?
So, well, first off, when it comes to the city's accounting, I think that there might be some oversights as far as some human error made with where the accounting goes. I know we've been dealing with this for about 8 years, 10 years now, somewhere in that vicinity. But with that being said, I don't think that there's any intentional, hey, let's steal from this pot to go pay for something else, or at least I hope there wouldn't be. I don't see that there. I'm very thankful that we have members on our board, such as Pat and yourself, that have been paying as close attention to this as you guys have, because otherwise there would have been some funds, we would have been short some funds that we should have that we do have now. So I can't say thank you enough. But as far as taking over the management of our own Uptown finances, I think that brings on a whole lot of liability. to the individual that's in charge of doing that. Also, how the accounting would be set up, where the accounting would go, and who would be responsible for it. I personally don't think that it would be a good idea to have that put on one single person. Maybe an entity, but we have an entity, and we have a good entity that's in charge of it. They are human. I think that they're going through a transition right now. We have a new finance director. We have a new liaison to this committee. I'd like to see us work with them and go that direction and see them work with us a little bit more and pay a little bit closer attention to the things that are coming out of that account. Because ultimately, I don't believe they have the money separated into or segmented into a separate account. I believe that they have it set up just like a trust fund, where they have a sub account there and they have their journal or their entries in and out, their credits and their debits. But what they've done, I don't feel is intentional.
If I make a comment, I'm Ryan Blackford, I'm the new finance manager. I've only been here for a couple of months. I don't know the history of what you guys have received as far as reporting and stuff is concerned. But to his point, going forward, it would definitely be a commitment of mine, of ours, to be as transparent as possible, provide the board as much information as we can. Courtney has created these documents. We can provide these to the board on a frequency that you guys would like. There is no issue to us. And I can confirm that, yes, a couple of issues that were addressed were simply human errors, and you definitely have our apologies for that. But going forward, you definitely have our commitment, if we were to keep the management of it, to be as transparent with the reporting to this body as we would like. If the board would like to continue discussing the potential motion mentioned, there is that possibility of us discussing the logistics of that. We would have to draft a management agreement that is agreed upon, that does still allow for certain city oversights. We do have still certain responsibilities in regard to using our assessment powers in the district. But that would be a possibility that we could discuss, but there would be a more in-depth management agreement that would have to be fleshed out between the city and the board to determine exactly what the responsibilities are that are transitioning and the relationship of the two parties.
I did want to add, as part of it, we would have to assess initiating documents to confirm if that flexibility is there, if not amend it to reflect that, but that can certainly be done. And then, as Ryan said, kind of the back end is just setting up that kind of reporting program, and as Robert had said, kind of the liability associated with it, making sure that those components to it are addressed as well and kind of fleshed out so everyone collectively is on the same page. Or alternatively, as Ryan said, we can also pursue doing quarterly reports, since it's my understanding that these type of details were never provided in the past, and so we can certainly work to do that as well. Or
well, Pat's found a lot of real big discrepancies over the few years, and so.
No, it's just not acceptable.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to do a better job. It's not good enough.
We don't know if it had something to do with the lady that was taking money, The bottom line is it's got to be done better all the way around.
It does.
I mean, just giving us estimates of bills paid does not cut it.
No.
We need the actual bills that were paid. We want to keep track of our own funds so we know what instead of spending money on walk around security guards, maybe we need to put that someplace else. But we can't if we don't know what we're working with. And we've been asking for a check ledger for the last 8 or 10 years, like Robert said.
You shouldn't have to do that.
No, we should have, an actual ledger showing what was spent, not just a guesstimation.
Definitely, and from my perspective, reporting of actual expenses incurred at a frequency as defined by the board is a completely reasonable request that we would be more than happy to comply with. I can't speak to the history, but being able to show the actual expenditures on a report with backup if requested, those are all reasonable requests that my department would be more than willing to comply with. So
that's what we're after. Yeah, we don't need the extra burden, but we want to make sure that we are told what's actually. And it's not been that way.
Yes. But looking at it, I think I agree with Robert just said, things are going too fast. I think we'll be happy that we should continue to work with the city financial manager and then between our association and see if we can make any improvement on it. Because there's a lot of liability. These two on their own might be a problem, unforeseeable problem in the future.
May I ask a question of the board? Is this report that you received today and the last meeting, as far as formatting and information presented, is this something that, assuming we were to continue with this financial responsibility of the city, is this something that would satisfy your needs going forward to be provided on, say, a quarterly basis or other frequency? Would this satisfy the type of information the board is looking to have?
I think we're gonna need a more consistent reporting as far as frequency goes. Whether it's quarterly, but we're gonna have to stay on top of it. So.
You know, I think that the new finance director is trying to work with us here, and I think that as long as somebody's trying to work with us and trying to go that way, I think that we'd be foolish not to give them the benefit of the doubt. Craig, I know you have your motion on the floor right now, and no disrespect meant to you, but I'd like to make a motion as well that we continue this on a trial basis and maybe postpone this item 6 months down the road.
Well, I would say it's not gonna take 6 months to determine whether we're getting a breakdown of everything. I mean, we'll do it. I think we need to do it. Well, I mean, that's a consideration, monthly. I would say no more than 3 months.
Why don't we do 3 months? That gives us a chance to work with him, to guide him, and to try to get the reports the way that they should be.
All right.
Because I'm looking at this. Go ahead.
Roll my motion.
So with that, I'd like to make the motion that we postpone this item that we're discussing right now for 3 months.
I'll second.
Hey, just to clarify, you're looking for a quarterly report where you get the next report in 3 months, or just, okay. And so we can provide that.
So any charges to the board, or the association, I'm sorry, broken down so that we can see them.
And this format is acceptable.
Now, I got a question. Do you pay actual invoices? Or like Edison, is it just something that's sent to you in the internet and you pay it? Or do we have actual invoices from the security company, from the landscapers, from the water company?
Yeah, there are actual invoices, yes.
All right, so I would suggest on this first 3 month go around, make copies of the invoices and send it with it. I mean, at that rate, then we can determine what's going on, because our electric bills have been kind of obscure over the years with all the food fairs and everybody plugging into the light standards. And we're getting a deal that says, no, there's no increase in the amount of electricity used. Well, how's that happen? And
hey, Larry.
Yeah.
With that, this year, with nothing going on during the summer, I don't believe rates have really gone up any. This would be a great year to run a comparison over summertime this year versus summertime last year on our electrical bills. Phenomenal year to run it because nothing's gone on.
Sounds like a plan, Robert. I mean, we're just interested because, you know, we're paying this, and we've raised in our fee bids by the 1 or 2% every couple, 3 years. And so we just want to make sure we're getting our dollars worth.
Yes,
And
reasonable request.
thanks. That would be my notion to put that in the works, in the mix. So we can actually go through, and there's nothing estimated at that point. If you don't have an invoice, it wasn't paid. You know, not estimate waiting on a later invoice. That should be on the next month or whenever. And so we've just done this right here. It says estimated actual with asterisks. And so just break out the erasers and start putting it down when it happens. And that would be my notion on it.
Okay, we already have a motion on the floor.
Well, I think that falls right in line with the motion that we've made, is to postpone this, and I think they can take that as a little bit of guidance. So I know we got a motion and a first and a second, just sort of looking for follow through with that. I think we need to take a vote. So, Craig, you want to call the vote?
All right, so we're going to, do this, we're gonna look at this in 3 months. Is that what you're saying, Robert?
I am.
All right, so you had that motion, I seconded it. All in favor? All right.
Aye.
All right, let's move on to number 8, nominations.
So this is just more housekeeping items. The nomination period for the upcoming election ballot has been received. There were 4 total people that had submitted for the Uptown board for the next term. John Chu, Craig Zuvet, John Semester, and then Tana Bradshaw, who is not currently an incumbent, also submitted. We will be sending out the election ballots soon, and then they will be sent back to us. And so Uptown, those within the PBID will get to select 3 of the 4 as part of that, because there's only 3 vacancies now. And so, or there will only be 3 vacancies, so.
So, yeah, what does that mean? Vote for 4, and then 3 in parentheses. Or in brackets.
Might be the other way around.
Vote for 3.
Yeah, vote for 3.
All right, that's,
Sorry, that's not easy.
all right.
But that's all, there's no action from the Uptown board that's needed. It's just more FYI that will be being sent out. Those were the names that were received for this next round.
Did everybody notice that Tanya had a Black Lives Matter protest in front of her store?
What's that, Larry? Who's that?
Tanya Bradshaw had the Black Lives Matter protesting Saturday in front of her business.
Oh, really?
She was.
Because they were running out of 6th Street.
Yeah.
When did these ballots go out then?
I believe they'll be going out, confirm with Chris, sometime, I think this week we'll be sending them out.
This week?
And then so that you have about a month or so for everyone to send their ballots back in.
And as far as the chair goes for the association, how does the board feel about electing that position by vote?
Amongst the board or amongst?
Amongst the board.
That has been, historically, after the new board committee shows up, the first meeting of the calendar year is, I believe historically when we've done the nomination for who wants to be the chair and vice chair of that kind of board.
Mm-hmm. I came on it and didn't go that way.
When you came on initially? Okay. I'm going off from January of this year, though. That was the schedule we had done, so I assume that was
Okay.
historically the way it was.
So it is an elected, the board.
The board itself appoints who they would like to be the chair and vice chair.
Okay.
And that's pursuant to the bylaws.
Yeah, to the bylaws. So it's very similar to how the city council appoints the mayor rather than it being its own separate voting of who would be that person.
Okay, Uptown webpage, this was something that was, supposed to have been done about a year and a half ago. It wasn't done, so we're gonna revisit it, and, it involves creating, a method of communication for the Uptown businesses. To make it, I think, much easier, not only for the Uptown Association, but for the city to notify businesses of what exactly is going on. And would encompass a lot of different things, construction, street closures, etc. Part of the problem is the businesses up there are always left in the dark as to what's going on. And sometimes I'm questioned and I can't give answers because I don't know either. So I think this would be a good idea. We approached Paul on it when he was here, and we had someone that was going to put this together, and it never materialized. So we want to revisit that and get something set up. Does not have anything to do with advertising, business advertising. It has everything to do with a method or a bulletin board for businesses in the Uptown to communicate their thoughts, concerns on a myriad of different things, safety issues, closures, whatever affects the businesses in the Uptown.
All right, so if you bring your attention to the screen, you'll see a Facebook page pulled up there. At the last meeting, I mentioned that this Facebook page was created based off a meeting that I attended when Paul Toomey was still here, where Devin attended the meeting, and he recommended that the best form of communication from his experience was perhaps a private Facebook page for a few reasons. Number one, the communication was immediate. As soon as we knew about it, we could put it up on that platform. Number two, it was, nobody else would see the information. It was solely for people who were invited to that group by whoever ran the page. Currently, I'm the administrator of the page. And so I have had staff a couple times now walk the boulevard to talk to business owners or whoever's in the brick and mortar from 2nd to Bryant and on California Street to ask if they would like to join this page and tell them a little bit about it, like you mentioned earlier, Craig. And so one of the things is, in order to join the page, you have to like the City of Yucaipa's Facebook page. So our staff kind of has to walk you through it if you're not on Facebook or if you're not used to it. And so right now we have 17 members that have liked the page. And then once you like the city's page, we invite you to be a part of the group. So Robert, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, so I pulled up White Rabbit, and then your name popped up as a user for Facebook, and so I invited you to the page, and that was just a little bit prior to this meeting, a couple hours prior to this meeting. So you'll see on your Facebook and notifications you got an invite. I tried other businesses, and nobody's name popped up to like be associated with that business, or so what I'll need to do is, like Suveg Sellers, your Facebook page will need to like the city's Facebook page, or your personal, or somebody from your staff, if this is how we want to communicate. So if we scroll down, I'll show you a little bit, and in this you can answer whether or not, I know it's really tiny, but you can see like we put some COVID update information on there. When you click that link, it goes to another link. If you go ahead, Greg, you can keep scrolling down. I'm just going to briefly try to summarize this. Again, more COVID information. If you could scroll down, Greg, until you get to like some festival. Oh, there we go. I believe this item, sorry, I can't see from this one. This was for Autumn Fest. And so we put the map up. As some of you are aware, we mail, snail mail, businesses, letters, and maps. And Robert, you brought up some great points of why that doesn't work. Sometimes the mail goes to because we mail it, right. And sometimes maybe somebody throws it away, or maybe we mail it too late. And so this was what we were doing, is we were putting what we mailed on this Facebook group. Greg, can you click out of this? And then also, is there any comments, any posts that have comments, Greg? So like as a member of this group, you can post comments and then we can reply. I have this synced to my phone. Mary has it synced to our phone, and we get a notification. This group member sent a message or made a comment, and we try to maintain that communication constantly, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So I do think this may be the quickest platform, but this may not be what you guys are wanting, or maybe you don't use Facebook. And so I'm going to end the conversation, like my part of this, and then listen to your feedback and what you would like to see, and if this is what you're talking.
My first question is, how would businesses know? First of all, well, a couple of things.
Sure.
First of all, how are businesses going to know that exists?
Yeah.
Number two, how's the business going to know that they're going to have to like the city of Yucaipa's Facebook in order to get on there?
Right, yeah. So the way that we're doing that right now is by walking to the businesses. And so we have some businesses, we have an Excel sheet of every business that we've been to. And then it says like, no, they don't have a Facebook page, or they don't want to know the information, just mail it. Or I'm just a worker here. You need to contact my boss, and I'm not allowed to give her information out, but you can come back during this time. So that's a great question. I don't really have a solution to, right now we're just going door to door.
And it's easy for somebody to get a Facebook page to play this or do this. But, for those that have the internet or capable of using it. So, but I can't see any other way that would make it as viable or instantaneous as that. Send out letters, and if they get there, great. If they don't, they didn't get any of the information. But for those that like that, or don't do emails and things.
So this page started about, I think almost a year ago now. Again, it was after that meeting, and our staff was going out like every 3 months to, number one, see are there any new businesses. Number two, the businesses that maybe had not enjoyed it before, they showed them on our iPad, like, this is what it looks like. This is the information that's on it. So maybe to get a little bit more buy-in. So we will continue to go quarterly if this is something that you think is beneficial.
Well, I think it's beneficial. It's just getting, letting people know that it exists and how to go about it. I mean, I don't have anything specific in mind on how to do that. I mean, if you're going to go business to business, I guess you can. I mean, even if you send something to somebody, it's like, well, I just work here, and then it gets lost.
Well, what you do is ask them, you got a Facebook page? We'll send it to you, and then you can tell your boss what's on it.
Right.
But I think it's something that we really need. I really do.
So whether it's a website or a Facebook page, and I think Megan has explained how we got here pretty well in terms of following the input from the board and the board's representatives. But it's only as good as the input that is put into it, right, from each of the business owners. And so I think it's a combined effort to continue to
Work on it.
yeah, work on it and promote the Facebook page. Here's how we can communicate. With all the things that you said at the beginning, Craig, that we need to do better, and that's starts with communicating between the board and businesses, between the city and the board and businesses, all of that. I think we can do a better job of. So I think Facebook page, and I'm not an expert, that's for sure, may be the right vehicle, but it's only as good as how much we use it, all of us.
Anything I may add, I think kind of if we do pursue this, is kind of working with the board, and one is advertising the page, getting additional support, going, hey, to your neighbors, we have this may be a good spot, and then two, building upon that and developing the content and kind of the pieces of information that everyone would be helpful to have as well. Certainly events that are coming up, but then there may be other components like the business resources that we come out for, like the COVID stuff, that may be helpful, or maybe certain pieces of information maybe isn't as crucial and maybe doesn't need to be in that format. But I think kind of working and evolving that system and platform so that it's giving you guys collectively the information you guys need.
Like you said earlier in the discussion about the Autumn Fest, getting input directly from the businesses via the Facebook page is perhaps a good way to go.
Have you thought of sending a flyer up just to the businesses?
Have you been getting so we also have another platform, which is our, we send out newsletters via email to all businesses with a business license in Yucaipa. And we use your email address on your business license. So all this information, we haven't sent flyers to businesses, but we have sent, have you seen those? Has anybody here seen the emails that we send?
In my situation, my son Dan does most of the electronics.
Okay.
I don't always see it.
Okay.
And we've got 4 emails, personal ones, the store ones, things like that. So sometimes in that jumble, doesn't always get, where I see it.
Yeah.
I see it, and nobody told me about it, and he's not.
Yeah. So that's a good suggestion.
So you've got emails going out, we've got Facebook page, once we get to a point where we're all using it more. And snail mail once in a while, so.
Well, like I said, we're flyer, all uptown businesses and property owners, here's your communication vehicle right here, and go to Yucaipa, say you like their page, and then we will automatically put you into this closed group.
Yeah. It's a private, it says it on there, it's a private group. The only other option is, if Greg's on the phone here, he works for IT and community services, and the only other option that we can think of besides a website, Greg, is a Teams, a Microsoft Teams, but we think that Facebook platform can be used by anybody as long as you have a phone or internet, where Teams is the same, but you're gonna have to download an app, we're gonna have to make sure you have the Microsoft capabilities, so it just creates a little bit more some more barriers, and so we can make more of an effort, and maybe this time that my staff goes out, we can go out at night. We do normally go out during the day, but we try to shoot between 2 and 5. But businesses like yourself, well, those are the hours, that might not work for you, so.
Sounds like it's got a good start, it just hasn't had it.
Yeah, as long as you get to the business and have that opportunity, then. But yeah, you know, might be better from most businesses.
Now that we've had a discussion on it, maybe we can push it a little more when we see the information. Oh yeah, that's what this is. I had no idea.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Continue on,
All right. Number 10.
No, but a couple of weeks ago, I called you and asked you to contact the security office, ask them, the security try to pay attention to
The ceilings, yep, the roofs, yep.
Make sure that when they do a patrol, yeah, so that make sure that nobody burglarize them. Air conditioner, they go in, cut off the peppers and sell, yeah. And also, what's the name of the new security guard?
I don't know I guess who you're referring to. There was a temporary security guard that started working. The other one that was normally assigned to it was tested positive for COVID and was ill for a few weeks, but I don't know.
Yeah, the former one resigned, I heard.
Yeah, and okay.
There's been actually a couple, one of them resigned and then one of them got COVID. So we have a temporary one right now, probably for another week or so.
Oh, so we don't have a permanent one yet.
I have his name.
Steve, I think that the first name is Steve.
Steve, that's the normal assigned one right now, but he is ill, and so he won't be back, I think.
He won't be back, okay, so you're gonna find out. And also they're doing the patrol from Thursday to, huh?
Thursday, Friday.
Thursday, Friday, from what time?
11 to 4, 11 at night till 4 a.m.
Sounds about right. It says on the invoice, but it's kind of that period. So about a few hours, about 5 hours or so each night.
It's a Thursday to what day?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Oh, Thursday, Friday.
I think Sunday as well.
John, have you asked for access to the recording as well? I know Craig has it, and I think
I do
Robert has it. Have you asked for it? Access to the recording?
To the reports that they issue.
Every day.
They will, yeah.
If you want, if you don't have access to it, you want to get it, we can ask them to do it.
Okay.
If you want it,
Yeah, definitely.
then we'll follow up.
Yep. So I have a few items under the town-related information, new and follow-up, so I'll cover those real quick after I take my note down to access for. So a few kind of key components, just kind of updates on stuff happening in the Uptown. Most of these items, some of them aren't necessarily within the PBIT areas, but just wanted to provide updates anyways. One is we had previously discussed a CDBG project that the city was pursuing to do sidewalk and street improvements on Avenue A from First Street to Adams Street. So the city was awarded the ability to do that for a CDBG project, and so there's a bid opening that just happened. City staff is currently reviewing those bids right now, and then probably in about a month or so is when construction is expected to start. I don't have a start time yet for those sidewalk improvements, but that is moving forward. So this is kind of an update.
The other side of the street now?
Yeah, the south side. So it's just an update on kind of that status from prior meeting when this was originally proposed. Second is the Green Valley Vet that's located on, I believe, Avenue B. They did submit, it's been deemed incomplete, a planning use permit to expand their facility a little bit, so they'll be adding on to their existing building. So I just wanted to give an update for the Uptown related to that as well. It's not necessarily, it's not in the PBIT area, but just wanted to give you an
What's that do about their parking? Because they're pretty tight on parking as it is, so.
They'll be modifying, I think, their parking lot layout to facilitate it. Our parking code standards themselves for kind of the medical office and kind of the medical professionals, including vets, is based on parking ratio to the number of veterinarians working at the site. And so it doesn't necessarily substantially impact the parking requirement on it by just.
You ever been in the waiting room? 15 people in the waiting room.
The waiting room is a parking lot, huh?
Yeah, that means each one has a car.
Yeah.
But as part of the code requirements that we can actually enforce, that's what they would be subject to. But that has been submitted, but as my understanding, it's been deemed incomplete, so we'll be getting some updated plans soon. Third is kind of related to two different restaurants. The Cludes adjacent to Yucaipa, they are under construction. They're making good progress right now. I did reference earlier, they're probably going to pursue the COVID TUP for their parking lot because they expect to be done with their construction before they're able to fully occupy the inside of their building. And so Certainly don't want to lose too much steam from that in light of everything else, so that may be something that happens later, but they're making good progress. And then it's my understanding that the Swedlove property at the corner of First Street is soon to be under construction as well. So essentially 2 different restaurants are making good progress on getting their doors open, and certainly
The old paint store?
yes. Yeah.
Okay, wasn't it supposed to have a whole bunch of hairdressing booths or something in the back?
Some shops in the back as well, yes. But so it's certainly challenging times for a restaurant, but they're both pushing forward, and certainly I think a lot of people are excited to see those come to the Uptown and hopefully bring others with them. So
I got a question about construction. When are they gonna finish Avenue E? This is ridiculous. I gotta go clear down the Wildwood to come all the way back to a house right on the corner. And every time I go by there, there's one tractor working, or one guy or 2 guys. Jesus, they're making an annuity out of that. You guys pay by the hour?
We'll get you a date. The contract called for them to be completed, I think it's somewhere around mid-fall, somewhere around October, but we'll get you a date.
It didn't take that long to do Uptown.
Yeah.
and then the kind of last one is just I passed out the handout for those here, the small business resources with our economic development division. We'll send out an email as well with this, but just want to provide that for everyone as well.
Third Street one is taking forever.
Oh, I know, I feel the same way.
All they have to do is level that asphalt, what's going on?
You mean the Third Street roundabout?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. They need a final lift, and there were issues with utilities at the beginning. The storm, we're past all that, but that's what held the project up. The storm drain and the water line didn't quite jive.
Didn't meet?
Yeah.
The stormwater and the water pipes?
So yeah, that kind of covers it for new and related information. The CDBG project's moving forward. Green Valley Bet is looking to expand, and then 2 different restaurants are making good progress, and then the small business resources as well. And so that kind of concludes that component.
And all businesses are eligible for those programs with certain criteria. One of the programs has a specific number of employees.
Oh, John's walked out apparently. Coming, John. You know, Governor Newsom is throwing down all these executive orders. My question to you is, are they law? Or is he
I've been
just
asked that question
100,000 times?
Several times, let's just say that. And I've actually consulted with our city attorney about that issue. It's pretty clear that, at least from this state's perspective, they are law. And I think other states are doing the same thing.
Well, everyone's got a Democrat. Well, it's stupid. Absolutely stupid. And he just gets given a $2.5 million mansion.
That I haven't heard, but I'm not surprised.
An LLC that he was partners in gave it to him.
Was that right?
So now he's got tax issues to deal with.
So I guess with that, any new items for the next meeting? I know we talked about bringing back the financial reports quarterly, so that'll be in 3 months. Doing the special meeting for
Somebody asked me about they were supposed to put something down the end of the boulevard, billboard, electronic or something, advertising businesses in the city.
Yeah, so there was a general plan amendment and conditional use permit for electronic messaging center at the end of the boulevard. And we were reviewing a development agreement as well that would provide advertising space. However, the property owner and then the billboard company were not able to reach an agreement for their land lease on that site. And so that project right now is stalled and withdrawn, whether or not that applicant finds another location and can find a more amicable agreement for that property. That may be something that happens in the future.
Paul introduced some directional signage for Uptown twice. What happened with that? Well, just dissipate?
Yeah, it's been almost entirely completed. The one signage in the one sign in the Uptown, if you recall, we came to you and relocated it. You made a recommendation to council about relocating it. And you also made a recommendation about the height, which was absolutely right on. It was too high. And so the foundation's been built. The sign is under construction and it's should be delivered shortly.
I never saw it.
It's at the
Except
corner
the
of.
pictures that he brought of it.
I've been told it's been built. To be honest with you, I haven't seen it myself. I should drive by and take a look at it, but
Now, is it-
it's in front of the Blair building.
Is it like he submitted some paperwork on it with the designs on, is it like
Yeah,
that?
just like that. It's just,
Is
the
that one of
signage
those
itself
little
has
monument
been.
signs that you guys been
Yeah.
making all over?
Yeah, just like those.
Along the road?
Yeah, it was just a little too high. I think you guys recommended that we lower it, because it really is about pedestrians in the Uptown, not vehicles. So.
Yeah, but the aesthetic to the sign hasn't changed.
Same.
Just
And-
this year.
And the council added I think you saw this, but the council added the tile.
So I have a question in 2 weeks, we'll have a special meeting. On that agenda will be the Autumn Festival and mural art.
Yeah.
And then next month, what will be, do you guys have stuff with me, like 2 more weeks later on the next one?
Or we can play it by ear
Yeah.
on that one if that's.
Yeah, 2 most important things that we
Come up with an agenda at a special meeting to cover.
That's fair.
All right.
That sounds
Adjourned?
Oh, on the special meeting, did we have?
Y'all have a good night.
We can coordinate a date, I think, try to reach out.
Just do that sooner rather than later.
Yes.
2 weeks comes around in a hurry.
Yep, it does.
Okay.
So you're gonna inform us, right?
Is now exiting.
This person,
Yes.
he's gonna email us.